With the full moon lunar eclipse on September 7th, we are at the peak of the moon cycle that started on August 23rd with the new moon in Virgo. The new moon wanted you to reorganize and decide what your to-do list looks like. The full moon asks you to trust your intuition, trust the process, and have faith in the plan that you've put into place. I'm Sammy. This is Infinity Aura Avenue, and I'm here to chat to you about the moon cycles and how to use the energy to your benefit. The full version of this video can be found on TikTok and YouTube, while Instagram only lets me post previews. So let's get into it. And if you're catching this on Instagram, hopefully you're joining me on another platform so you don't miss anything. The sun in Virgo is sandwiched between the South Node and Mercury. He shines his light best here when he's got a practical routine and structure. Thoughts and ideas require organization to be effective. The issue here is that the South Node does things in a way that's comfortable. So it's not really like innovative, which means the South Node does what it's used to and what's comfortable, but that doesn't always bring progress. For progress, you look to the North Node, which happens to be with our moon. That's why it's an eclipse, by the way. So the full moon is lit up by this energy, right? The sun shines on the moon. That's how we get a full moon. The full moon is lit up by this energy that we just talked about, and it's sitting here with the North Node. And while Saturn and Neptune are close, they're not really in what you would call the orb. So I wouldn't consider them actually like really influencing this full moon. And it's not that the energy of Saturn and Neptune is not there. They're also retrograde. There, I think Saturn is about 11 degrees out, and that's outside of even a wide orb. An orb you would usually look at for a full moon from 3 to 4 degrees if you're looking at how it's affecting the full moon. For like a regular chart, maybe 8 to 10 degrees if you're looking at certain aspects. So this is outside of the influence of this full moon. So not that the energy is not there, but these are kind of like background players to this full moon, as are Venus, Uranus, and Pluto. They're not really in an aspect with the energy that's going on with this full moon. So again, you've got Sun in Virgo, who wants to hold on to existing ideas and existing structures and existing ways of getting the to-do list done. But then you've got Moon in Pisces, which asks you to operate more from an intuitive direction. And the North Node is there. So that's going to bring you progress, more progress. You kind of want to, not that you don't want to work with the South Node. The South Node comes easy, right? The North Node is where the challenges are met, and where the challenges are met is where the growth is, and that's where you want to head towards the North Node. The South Node, you work with the skills that you have. There's not really a lot of progress to be made with the South Node because it just is already there. The North Node brings a little bit more of where you're headed, where you're going, how to get things done in that way. So a lot of the time when I talk to you about the full moon, it's about working with the balance of the moon, right? We've talked about that a lot. The energy is pulling you this way, that way. You're kind of in the middle here and you want to find the balance. This is a little bit different because it's an eclipse. So the energy is different, and you really want to look at the energy of the North Node to kind of figure out how you should work with an eclipse. So I want to encourage you to lean a little bit more into emotion and intuition as opposed to logic and structure and how things are usually done for you. I want to talk about Mars because Mars is square Jupiter, which makes a trine to the moon. So we're going to discuss all of them. We're going to kind of go backwards. Mars is still in Libra. So this isn't necessarily an energy of go, 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 achieve, achieve, achieve. Mars in Libra needs to act with intention by weighing its options, by negotiating, and a lot of times through partnership. Jupiter always expands, right? So we're talking about comfort and emotion here in Cancer. So Jupiter might expand that uncertainty that Mars feels here in Libra. And because it's a square, it's creating a challenge. But Jupiter is also expanding the emotion and intuition over here of the moon. And because it's a trine, they're helping each other. It works a little bit easier. They're not as in as much conflict as this. This is like, well, I really, really feel like I should be doing this and this and this, but I'm not really sure how to go about it. And all this Virgo stuff is like, well, we do it this way usually, right? We made that to-do list. We do it this way. Now you want to think of the to-do list as the end goal and not really of the how to get it done, right? So you're looking at the actual goals of the things that you need to do on that to-do list, not necessarily the way to do them. And we talked about that a little bit when we did the Virgo new moon. What I want to say is sometimes your intuition, Pisces, right? Sometimes your intuition doesn't make sense to the way things are usually done and the structure of how they're done. And that's the battle that's going on here. And it might feel comfortable to do them the way that they've always been done, but that's not where the progress is. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments if that makes sense. This does make it tough to actually get things done, right? You have to cater to where Mars is right now and to where your personal Mars is. This is where it gets to be beneficial to know your own chart, right? I can do these moon readings with you and you can kind of get a basic idea, but a lot of times the application is a little bit deeper, and that's where you'll get more if you do a personal one-on-one reading with me. You can book me on infinityauraapp.com or infinityauraavenue.com. I'll do Zoom, or if you're local you can come into the studio. But you want to look at where Mars is now, right? Because we're doing things through weighing our options, diplomacy, partnership. And then you want to look at your Mars, because maybe your Mars doesn't really operate that way and you have to make some adjustments because the energy of what's going on around you does not always match the energy of how you are used to doing things or how things come easy for you to get them done. You want to check what house Virgo rules in your chart. You want to check what house Pisces rules in your chart, and that will give you some insight. You want to check what house Libra rules in your chart, and that will give you some insight. Remember, the nodes here indicate that this is an eclipse. This is not just a regular full moon. Eclipses are turning points. And because it's an eclipse on a full moon, it's more of an internal turning point. So because Saturn is retrograde, moving this way through the chart, and the moon is going to go this way through the chart, he's going to continue moving in the direction that he's moving after the full moon. He's still going to be pretty full when he hits Saturn. So even though right away you might not really know how to implement these things, when it comes to Saturn, Saturn will bring a little bit more of that structure back in a different way, right? Because we're changing the structure and the way that we've done things before. We have this turning point and then we hit Saturn and now we're implementing a new design. And then when Mars moves into Scorpio, it'll be a little bit easier to get things done because Mars likes it in Scorpio. So if you've made that to-do list from the new moon and you're having trouble really implementing how to actually check things off the to-do list, you're still on the right track. This is frustrating energy, and by no means do you have to make these decisions right away. This is logic versus intuition, right? Logically, I know that I've done this way. And logically, it makes the most sense to do it this way. Intuitively, I kind of want to try to do it this way. I've got big feelings about doing it this way. I'm not really too sure how to get it started. So even though some of these other planets are not really involved in this energy, this is still a lot of energy because a lot of it is conflicting. The support really comes from Jupiter to the moon. And then when you do that, you're conflicting with the Virgo stuff and you're conflicting with the Mars stuff. But the Pisces stuff has the North Node. And we always want to look at the North Node when we're looking at eclipses. The North Node will bring you progress. Now, also, I talked about knowing your own chart. You want to know where your North Node is, right? Your South Node will tell you what comes easy to you. Your North Node will tell you what doesn't come so easy to you. But if you head towards the North Node, it will give you a little bit more progress. And the North Node in transit with the moon will tell you what you need to do emotionally to reach that progress. This is really the first time that I've talked to you guys about how to use today's chart with your chart. Let me get a little bit deeper into that really, really quick. Your birth chart will tell you about you. It will tell you about how you operate, how you get things done. You look at your Mars. It will tell you about your ego, how you shine your light. It will tell you about your emotions. The chart for the day, the full moon chart, will tell you the energy going on around you. When you take this chart and you impose it on top of your chart, you get the energy of today on top of the energy of you. That's why I said you want to look at your chart. You want to know the houses. I am going to do an Astrology 101 video. I've been saying this for a long time, but right now by the time this comes out, the cleansing video will be out. So I'm working on kind of like a structure of spiritual wellness on YouTube where I'm trying to put it in an order from basics to more advanced. The more advanced stuff would be like the astrology stuff. I will still do the moon stuff and you will still understand without knowing your chart. But once we get into the astrology 101, you will know a little bit deeper how you can actually work with that energy when you look at your chart. If you know your chart already, because I know some of you do, like I said, look at the houses, look at Virgo, look at Pisces, even look at Cancer, look at Libra. And it's not that these other things are not happening here, because they are happening in the background. But when you have a lunation like this energy takes the front. So everything else is kind of like background players. And that's literally just for the day. Literally just for the day or the 2 days following. That's the energy in the front. And this energy is still back there. It's still back there playing a part. But this is the loudest. Whenever the moon and the sun are together in some kind of lunation, this is the loudest area of the chart, and they're aspecting other planets in some way, and they're also in the forefront. And then you've got other planets in the background kind of playing the background noise. People talk about portals in astrology and with energy a lot, and it's not really like you would think. It's more of like the energy will give you a chance to unlock certain things. And if anything is a portal, it's a new moon, full moon. That's why I do these like this. It's not that there's not other important things going on, but the new moons and the full moons are louder energy that create a little bit more of moving and shaking. We'll put it like that. And that's not to say that other transits don't create portals, but these happen every 2 weeks. This happens every 2 weeks. Are you paying attention to how often I'm coming on here and talking to you guys? This happens every 2 weeks. New moon, full moon, new moon, full moon, new energy, peak energy. Energy dies down, brand new energy. New moon, full moon, new moon, full moon. We've been doing this for 10 months now on TikTok, YouTube, something like that. Anyway, we have a second new moon in Virgo. Okay, remember before when I was like, we're going to write that to-do list and then we're going to write it again? We wrote the to-do list. We check in with the intuition. And then we'll see you September 21st. We'll really go over the energy, but we're going to revisit this to-do list. This is what I mean when I tell you that these cycles really don't have endings or beginnings. This is a big, like, pay attention to what's going on, okay? Because these cycles feed into each other. So even though there's a new moon, there's a full moon, and that's technically the beginning of the cycle, the peak of the cycle, and then like I tell you, it dies down, and the end of the cycle is the beginning of the new cycle. There's no end. There's no end. There's no beginning. We just go into the next thing. And you really see that with this new moon, second new moon in Virgo. This full moon is September 7th, 2:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know if I said that in the beginning. That's all I have for you today. It was kind of chaotic, so hopefully when I do go in and edit it, you guys are still with me and I didn't lose you because I did a lot of rambling. But I'm Sammy. This is Infinity Aura Ab. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit all the buttons on whatever platform you're on. If you're on Instagram, don't just watch the highlights because you missed a lot. I did a lot of chatting. And if you're on Instagram, you didn't get any of it. That's it. Love you. Bye.